Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
Wealth. Is it worth it? Hey everybody, Joe Simons, like diamonds, back again. Salt Strong Unchurched. Read a new book here by old Truett Cathy, founder of Chick-fil-a, and he actually wrote a book called Wealth, Is It Worth It? I believe right before he passed away. And certainly old Truett Cathy, as a billionaire, has a lot of wealth. And for him to write a book saying, is it all worth it? And I won't tell you his conclusion just yet. But man, this was really, really eye-opening. And he starts it off with this story. And Truett, obviously a devout Christian up until his last days, and still went to the same old little small church. And I mean, kind of like almost kind of like a Warren Buffett, where he never was extravagant and certainly had a couple of nice things. But even like their one dream, he like loved New Smyrna Beach. And there was this one condo, and it had this like nice penthouse, and like that was one of his dreams is to one day maybe own that penthouse. And we're not talking about a $30 million penthouse. It's, probably at the time it was $3 million or something. So it for a billionaire, it's not that much. And he finally gets this, and he still felt so guilty he wouldn't even use it. So they had a condo in the same condominium, for a long, long time down lower. At the 7th floor, and they wouldn't even use it. So they would use it for hosting parties, or if they had friends and family, they'd let them stay in the penthouse, but they would never use it. He still felt so guilty. Really just an interesting, special guy that never really let money get to his head. And so he kicks off the book with this story. And I'm just going to read it to you. This is really powerful. He said, I once heard a story about a man who earned $100 a week. And he made a commitment to be faithful with his tithe to his church. Every Sunday morning, he happily placed a $10 bill in the offering plate, right? So he made $100 a week, and he would put the $10 bill every week into the offering plate. Over time, his responsibilities at work increased, and his pay rose along with it. He earned more money. And so he and his wife bought a bigger house, and they shared special gifts with their children. He did continue to tithe, but giving became more of an effort. Sometimes at the end of the week, he didn't have enough left to pay his tithe, and he felt guilty. Finally, he was making $1,000 a week. He went from $100 a week to $1,000 a week, but he just couldn't afford to put $100 in the offering every week. He couldn't keep up with that 10%. So he went to his pastor and asked if he could be released from the commitment he had made to tithe his earnings at 10%. The preacher said he could not release a man from a commitment he had made with God, as that commitment was not made with me or this church, it was made with God. But he says, what we can do instead, said the preacher, is we'll pray that you'll get that $100 a week job back again, so it'll be easier for you to tithe. Boom. Wow, isn't that crazy? And that hit me hard too, because I've been through that. Where I was tithing and hardly making any money. And then you make money, all of a sudden you get a nicer house and you have more stuff and more commitments and more debt and all of that. And all of a sudden you're not tithing anymore. And that hits so hard, right? The pastor says, hey, well, we're all just going to pray as a church. You get your $100 a week back job, so it'll be easier for you to tithe instead of your $1,000 a week. So crazy, right? And that's how he asked the question. He's like, so, wealth, is it really worth it? And, Truett did say, and I appreciate him saying this in this book, and you've maybe heard me say this, because I've had times in my life where I had no money, and I've had times in my life where I had a pretty decent amount of money and nice savings, and I'll take the days where I have the money and the savings all day long. Oh, and Truett literally said the same thing. He's like, because if you know his story, when they were first getting started, They tried to create a second store. The whole thing bombed. He was way ahead of his time. He was trying to basically do fast food, and his dwarf house at the time was, there's no fast food. You come in, you sit down. It was about the environment. It was about meeting friends and being around people there in Jonesboro, Georgia, wherever it was. And he saw this opportunity. Hey, we can do fast food and grow even quicker, right? The whole money, and literally the whole thing bombed. And so he had to shut the whole thing down. Then his brother died, which is his business partner, not just to lose your brother, but it was literally his business partner in this dwarf house. Brother died in an airplane crash unexpectedly. Obviously, there's no expected airplane crashes. But can you imagine like all that? And so he was financially had nothing. He was sleeping at the restaurant many nights. Pretty wild story of him, just going all in and having nothing. He's like, but man, those years were so special. And I always swore I would never let money get to my head. And really, really interesting anecdote on, as he grew this and started getting money, he continued to tithe. He did the opposite of what this guy in this story did, where he continued to not only tithe but give more and more away, and has done all kinds of stuff for foster kids. And it's amazing what he's done behind the scenes, where he doesn't even take credit for it, which is even more awesome and more rare. But so anyhow, as they started to grow, Chick-fil-A did, he was always focused on better, not bigger, better. And he's like, if we're just the best, if we serve our customers the best, if we just focus on having the best chicken sandwich and focus on the best fries and shakes and just focus on always being the best at every one of our stores, not just one or two, but every one of them, we'll eventually be bigger. And if not, then God just didn't want us to be there. And that was kind of his attitude. And honestly, that's our attitude at Salt Strong. Certainly, we want to have the biggest club, and I think we are the biggest saltwater fishing club in America. But same point, I want to be the best. We're constantly, if you hear you could sit in one of our leadership meetings, and we're constantly talking about, how do we serve our members better? How do we wow them? Like the free Slam Shady for Life, something we came up with this year. Like all right, what's something we could do that's crazy that would wow our members? Let's give them free Slam Shady for Life for as long as they're an active insider member. Like just little things like that we're constantly trying to come up with. So anyhow, so this company called Boston Chicken, I'm sure you heard of Boston Chicken. And if you remember, I guess this would have been late 90s, 2000s, Boston Chicken was everywhere. It was a big brand. And if you were into stocks at the time and investing, Boston Chicken, raised a ton of money and went public and basically was going to take on Chick-fil-A, or did take on Chick-fil-A. And Truett even talks about it. He's like, we were literally, quote unquote, crapping in our pants about Boston Chicken. Like people were saying, this is the end of Chick-fil-A. And that's what people were saying. It's funny knowing what we know now, but at the time, everyone's like, this is the end of Chick-fil-A. Boston market is going to destroy them. They raised hundreds of millions of dollars. Chick-fil-A raised zero. It's privately owned. So, and the whole time Truett's telling it, his leadership team, and I think Boston market even plucked off someone from his team. It did not look good. It looked like Chick-fil-A was, going to be out of luck. They're like, man, we don't have any money. We can't compete against these guys and their ad budget and their budget to acquire customers and get people in the door. And Boston market started overtaking him. There was way more Boston markets than Chick-fil-A. So Boston market starts growing like crazy. Chick-fil-A is just doing their own thing, just one store at a time, slow and steady, the tortoise versus the hare. And of course, you probably know the rest of the story. Boston market did grow and kept growing and got to the point where they got sloppy, where they weren't concerned about being great or being the best or being even better. It was all about just being bigger. They wanted to be the biggest chicken place out there. They wanted to basically knock out Chick-fil-A. And Chick-fil-A just kept doing their thing. Says, we got customers who love us. We're going to stay focused on them. And if Boston market is bigger than us, so be it. And then kind of ignored them for the most part. And it took a little while to unravel. The Boston market thing did. But now, there's a Boston market here in our town. I think it's closed. I don't even know. It literally gets no attention. No one talks about it. I never see people there. But essentially, Boston market grew so fast and tried to become so big so fast that they couldn't scale. They couldn't get enough good managers. They couldn't get enough people, and even though it's fast food kind of ish, people only put up with so much, right? If your rotisserie chicken's dry or it's late or they're screwing up your order just left and right, there's only so many times you put up with that before you try somewhere else. Whereas Chick-fil-A, I mean, rarely is it off, right? It's very consistent. Rarely do you get bad service there. Rarely do they screw up your order. I mean, they're really, really, really good because once again, they've taken the time to be the best, to train their people really, really well. And when you're growing that fast, you don't have time to train people. So I just thought that was such a good story because he had the opportunity. I mean, you could only imagine how many times investors and the Wall Street guys came to the Cathy family and said, "Hey guys, you guys could be multi-billionaires overnight." And they're billionaires in terms of their value, but a lot of it's tied up in a Chick-fil-A. But like, meaning we could have cash money in your hands. This could be huge. You guys could be set for multiple generations, and we could take this to another level. And he always said no. He's like, we didn't do this for the money. It's not why we started this in the first place. We wanted to serve our community. We wanted to create some good food and bring people together. I thought that was so cool. And where I really got excited, and I had no idea about this. So there's a farm in Georgia that Truett bought. And it was an old cattle farm, and they had some little lakes on there. And he turned it into essentially like a little theme park. It was more like an ag theme park where kids all over Georgia, really all over the country, could come there with their families and take some train rides and do some fishing, do some things that I've talked about with the Salt Strong, Fish Strong theme park as well. And but it was all more about learning about how food is really made, right? And about cattle. And it really did a fantastic job. It looks like it shut down during COVID and it never fully recovered, sadly, but I really enjoyed reading that chapter. And what gave me like goosebumps reading it. So if you don't know, our big mission at Saltron, like the written down one on our website and everything, is uniting friends and family through fishing. And his mission statement of this park, if you will, this, I don't know, I want to say it kind of a cattle ag focused little theme park, was to unite friends and family around like ag. And it's so cool. I don't know. I went and looked, and like I said, sadly, it looks like it's still kind of closed, never really fully recovered. But there was people, I mean, having all kinds of big corporate events and parties and taking their kids there, and it just looked like a neat place. And they had big pumpkin patch during the Thanksgiving and massive 4th of July party. And I was like, man, I got really excited just focusing in on our vision for this fishing theme park, which I'll have more on here in the near future. So anyhow, I just wanted to share that with you. The end of the story, if you will, to kind of summarize it. Wealth, is it worth it? And he's like, no, it's not worth it if that's all you're doing and that's all you focus on. And you wake up one day, and he told multiple stories of his personal friends who were only focused on the wealth part. And in almost every case, they lost everything. They lost their spouse. They even lost sometimes a second spouse. Their kids, for the most part, all end up being screwed up. And a couple times, the person who was one of his friends was fully focused only on making money. That's all he cared about, and that's all that drove him, passes away, and all of the kids and grandkids got in the biggest fight, all sued each other because they all wanted this money. And he's like, what a shame. Like, is that worth it? One, to pass away, not even knowing your family that well. And two, you pass away and all your kids and grandkids hate each other and are literally suing each other in court over money that they didn't even make. And this happens all the time. This is not a new story, but this is someone he personally knows. He's like, that's not worth it. So he gave all these examples of why it's not worth it. And he's like, the only way it's worth it is if that's not what drives you. You need to be driven to be the best like they did. And if you are the best, usually wealth comes to you, right? Like it kind of magnetically attracts to Chick-fil-A. It seems like I've never seen a Chick-fil-A that's failed. And he's like, and then when you have it, how are you deploying that to make your community better, to make your churches better, to make whatever it is that you're passionate about better? How can you find ways to give that money away to help and empower and encourage other people? That was really it. But just a fantastic book. If you want a short read, it's 170 pages actually looking at it here, but it's small pages, a lot of pictures, but really, really cool. Yeah. I'm reading, I had a page highlighted here. So at that ranch, I guess is what we'll call it, the Cattlemen's Association, where they had a pumpkin destruction day. I was like, oh, that's something that I want to bring to ours. And it's called the Rock Ranch, by the way, if you're curious. So it's the Rock Ranch. And it says the goal of the Rock Ranch is to create an opportunity for families to spend quality time together and provide educational, entertaining programs that create positive life memories. I absolutely love that. They had a pumpkin destruction day where they had a pumpkin cannon, pumpkin bowling, the hammer smash, and the lift crane pumpkin drop. I love that one. That's definitely something we will be doing at our little theme park ranch when that all happens. So love you guys. Hopefully this is helpful and just a good reminder. I know I talked about potential economic crash, and I'm guilty of this, of getting wound up about it. Oh my gosh, what happens to our money and our investments, the stuff that we've now been saving up for. And end of the day, that can't be all that's life about. It's wealth. Is it worth it? Yeah, maybe if you use it in a healthy manner. But if that's all you live for and that determines everything about you and your own self-worth, then no, it's probably not worth it. So love you guys. Hopefully this is helpful, and I'll talk to you on the next episode.
'Cause fishing, it's in my soul.